Let's go ahead and... Al, you there?
Hello?
How you doing?
Hey.
Hello?
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 Yeah, this is Pete.
It's Pete.
Pete?
Yeah, Pete, yeah.
Oh, we lost Al.
Okay, you lost Al, right?
Was your question about cargo cults?
Yeah, I did an article in a local college here in Austin about the same stuff you're mentioning there about Rush Dooney. I did that back, I think, in the late 80s or something like that. It was like Bill Moyers or CBS or whatever did a bunch of, they did a thing about that, and I picked up on that and wrote, and the same stuff you were talking about there where, the death penalty for adultery and blasphemy and all that, and this was way back when,
Yeah, Rush Dooney wrote something called The Institutes of Biblical Law in 1973, and that was kind of the launch of the movement.
Yeah, yeah. But isn't there something there where a vice presidential candidate wants to teach, creationism in the schools? I mean, this is scary stuff, man, isn't it, eh? Of course, it might never happen, but anyway, how about there's this pastor from Arkansas who wants to take it to all the way up to the courts to be able to endorse political folks for office and still keep the tax exempt, for the churches. I don't know if you ever heard about that, or I mean, it's just something I caught on the news.
Yeah,
but that's interesting,
Mm-hmm. There are a number of pastors and religious groups who've gotten together who decided that this prohibition that prevents them as a nonprofit organization from endorsing candidates and parties is wrong. And so they're going to fight it with the intent of being busted for it and having to take it to trial and then demonstrate that it's unconstitutional. Yeah. That's what their goal is.
Yeah. Hey, what's Ben Stein's, he's got some...
Expelled?
Yeah, something like that, where it's censorship, that you can't, you can't show other than evolution in the schools, no creationism, censorship, or something along that line. Something I heard about that.
Right. We've talked a lot about Expelled in the past. I know you guys went to see it, and I didn't.
I haven't.
It was a movie.
No, I haven't.
It was a movie. He was talking about me going to see it. It was a movie. Expelled was a movie that Ben Stein put out or was part of that essentially made the claim that intelligent design and creationism have been expelled from the halls of academia.
Right.
And the answer is yeah, they have, and for damn good reasons. Because when we're discussing science, intelligent design doesn't qualify.
But I read too that this is going to be shown to like church.
The movie came out.
Focus groups, staff people for politicians, and this is something that can go on for years. That people can be watching this.
Yes,
movie. It's like an hour and a half long or something, where you can fit it in between coffee breaks or whatever.
No, it's a long enough movie.
So
where,
that's
it's not a coffee break,
to watch out for.
But it is a big steaming pile of misinformation that's going to be misused in order to promote an agenda. The movie goes beyond just the claims that intelligent design's been expelled from academia, and that certain people have been fired for even presenting this thing, and shouldn't we be promoting openness in science? And the fact of the matter is, that's where the movie lies. Just flat out lies. Those people who they weren't fired for their intelligent design ideas. Science isn't a thing. The scientific process and the scientific community uses the scientific process. It is self-correcting. It is not only not closed to, but it encourages criticism and inquiry. But it has very strict guidelines for what qualifies. You don't just get to walk into this
claims,
scientific study group that has this established theory with evidence for it and say, you know what, I kind of get the feeling you guys are wrong, and it's because this leprechaun whispered it into my ear. And I think that if you don't consider my hypothesis as equally valid and give it careful and equivalent consideration, that you're just being closed-minded elitists. Well, you know what? They are. They are being elitist. They're not being closed-minded. They're being elitist, and there's nothing wrong with that.
One of the things that I read in the criticism of the movie was that for all their whining about how it wasn't included in schools, there was not 1 minute of the movie actually devoted to making a case for intelligent design.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Actually,
there you go.
You know, actually presenting any kind of scientific reason why it should be presented in class.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll let you guys go. And
okay.
Maybe,
thanks, Pete.
Somebody else to get on there. Okay, sure.
Real quick for Al, who I'm convinced now was dropped, there was a question picking up on something I said earlier relating to Richard Feynman about when I mentioned cargo cult science. Real quick, although I've done this topic in depth, I think, but there were some cargo cults in the, I forget where, but somewhere out in some jungle somewhere. During one of the world wars, Americans would fly planes and use, like in Tana Island, says the studio. Americans would fly planes in, and they'd bring all kinds of goodies, which were collectively known to the natives as cargo, you know, food and clothes and medicine. And the natives would try to set up these fake runways and control towers so that they could convince the gods to bring down more planes and more cargo. So they had the form right. I mean, you know, they made things that very convincingly looked like runways, but the planes didn't land, and they didn't understand why. And then Feynman says this is a lot like how pseudoscientists do science, where they, you know, they put on lab coats and they pretend to do experiments, but they don't really understand how science works, and so they're just sort of going through the motions of it and not really doing science.
Yeah, this claim about elitism, Sam Harris wrote an article, it's in Newsweek, and I won't go into it in great detail, that primarily focuses on Sarah Palin, but it also focuses on objections launched at Obama and others for being elitist. And he makes an incredibly good point, which I kind of touched on a minute ago, but I think it's worth kind of realizing. We want elite pilots to fly our planes. We want elite soldiers to fight in our armies. In any area where we really give a damn, we want the elite in that field. We want highly qualified people. Elitism somehow became a dirty word in the sense that it's kind of tied to this idea that they're looking down their nose at you, the little man. I guess that would better be represented by, arrogance and specifically, unjustified condescension or whatever. But the fact that somebody is qualified in an area, be it a political area or a scientific area or a particular field, you want your elite athletes to go to the Olympics to represent your country. This idea of having some expertise, man, that's something that we should be lauding, and that's something we should be striving for. We should want the best people in different areas doing that work. Would you want, when you go to pick a brain surgeon for your child, do you want to find an elite brain surgeon, or would you rather pick somebody you'd have a beer with? I mean, and I don't mean to try and tie everything to politics, but not only has this claim of elitism been launched this way, both with regard to the politics and with regard to closed-minded scientists within Expelled, but this Massimo Pigliucci just wrote a great blog post about intellectual arrogance, about the fact that we must necessarily rely on experts in fields in order to gain knowledge about things that we simply don't have time or perhaps the ability to investigate ourselves. What we need to do is try to make sure that we're relying on good sources. The peer review process is demonstrably one of the best ways of making sure that the information you're getting best represents the best knowledge and understanding of the best in those fields. And when people come along and say, well, you know, science gets it wrong sometimes, or I just don't trust them, or well, you know, well, what about this religious idea, or I just don't believe them, it doesn't matter that they're experts, they seem to be kind of arrogant. No. Folding your arms and saying that you're going to reject responsible peer-reviewed science for no other reason than the fact that it disagrees with your preconceptions or you can't understand it, that is actually the height of intellectual arrogance.
Yeah, what's arrogant is when you take somebody who's devoted, you know, 10 years to just studying this and another 10 years of working with it in the field and saying, that guy knows no more than I do.
Yeah.
That's arrogant.
Yeah. The logical fallacy with regard to an argument from authority, it's only a fallacy if you're citing an authority in one area. I'm actually talking, but that's okay. Citing an authority in one area for something else.
The camera loves me.
4 out of 5 doctors say Jesus was God. Okay, they're doctors, but they have no expertise in this religion area, and I'm not sure that anybody does, by the way. But 4 out of 5 priests recommend, you know, Dentine. Who cares? That's a fallacy. But when you get 4 out of 5 dentists, now you've got a real statistic from real experts. It's not a fallacy. It's not an argument. You may be misrepresenting statistics. You may, and that's something that happens a lot. But it's not a fallacy. We have authorities, and we have them for a reason. We strive to create new authorities, and we strive to expand the boundaries of the knowledge that these authorities possess. To shrug it all off just because you don't want to believe it or you can't understand it, that's intellectual arrogance of the highest order.